Hi, so they've already tried to make me homeless multiple times, and my landlord, the previous neighbors that lived here, they were all involved with trying to make me homeless. And they did this by making false allegations, claiming that I was making too much noise, that I was harassing the neighbors. So I ended up recording all the time in the house, right? So I do have footage of confronting my neighbor, and she's trying to avoid me at all costs. So I will upload that later, but they've also used my dad against me also to make me homeless. And my dad never, ever in his life would he want his daughters or any of his children on the streets. My dad was so overprotective before all of this targeting happened. So if you don't know by now, I'm not the only one who knows this. If you're under investigation, you will notice a difference with people around you. They're going to act hostile. They're not going to want to talk to you. They're going to act weird, right? But unfortunately, mine is not just investigation. It is way worse than that. They have a motive behind what they're doing, and it's very nefarious. And I'm just going to put the skull there so you can understand what it is, right? So this is what I'm dealing with right now. And always around December, we're in the month of December, I always get anxiety because this is at the end of my lease. And every year when I wanted a copy of my lease, they gave me the hardest time. They always made excuses. The realtor agent was always trying to avoid me. And I had to fight tooth and nail just to get a copy of my lease. So I always get anxiety around this time because I don't know what to expect at this point. They made me homeless in the beginning of this whole ordeal, and they were rerouting my calls to prevent me from getting shelters. So I can afford my own place, okay? Make no mistake, at this point, I work for myself. I can afford my own place. The problem is when you try to rent out other places, everybody's gonna be involved. I've tried to rent out a place like in the beginning of, before I was even aware of me being targeted, and they ended up sabotaging that. I was gonna lease out a really nice condo, like right before Toronto, like it's close to Toronto, and they ended up sabotaging this, and they got my spouse at the time to not go ahead with this lease. I was the one providing also, right? So he was laid off on his job, yet I was still okay with going ahead with this lease, but he was like, no. So I knew right then and there, later on in my situation, that they coerced him to not go ahead with this lease. So what they do is they try to smear you to everybody around you, so nobody can suspect that you are someone who is responsible. They will think that you're dangerous. They'll think that, you have mental issues and whatnot, right? So at this point, the lies are coming out. I know for a fact that the lies are coming out, and they're scrambling to do damage control. So this is what I have to watch out for, especially around this time, is being homeless specifically. And like in the past, when they sent me up to be homeless, I went to motels and there was nobody there. When I got to the motel, there was nobody there. And then like an hour later, the whole parking lot was filled of perps. And they ended up coercing the owner of that motel to get me kicked out. I literally saw one of the perps going up to him, whispering something in his ear, and then looking at me and giving me a dirty look because I caught him, right? So 2 days later, the motel owner ended up coming to me and saying that you have to leave. And he tried to keep my money, which I made sure I would get back. I also want to note, in this situation, they will slowly remove people out of your life. And right now, my dad is never home. He's on the lease, yet he is never home. So go to my repost section so you can understand what I'm talking about, or look up James Harkin on YouTube, and he has a full video of how this works. Okay, so I'm planning to post that video once again in my repost section. So just go to my repost section and you will see a video, and it'll say how gang stalking works, okay? So just look at that video and you'll understand what I'm talking about in terms of how they slowly remove people out of your life to further isolate you, right? So my dad is on the lease, yet he's never home. He comes home like once every few weeks. And, this is how they do it, right? Like my family, my other family, my so-called family were also complicit in this, and they ended up smearing me to everybody else. And a lot of my family members had no problem going ahead with this.